How's everybody doing today? I wanted to share something with you that I get asked all the time. Many of you have heard me say, whether it's on the radio, TV, or in person, when somebody says something, they make a claim, I always say, man, that's really interesting. Where'd you read that? And can I get a copy? And I always say that you got to have your copy as well. So when somebody calls you out on your message, you got to have some material to back it up. And, I was just talking in front of a large group of doctors the other day, and it was funny because a couple of these doctors were really in it. They're like, man, this makes sense. In fact, I was invited by one of the doctors who owned the corporation to come and speak to his people. But there were a couple doctors that had the mentality of, chiropractic is not real science. Chiropractic is a placebo. Chiropractic can't help anyone. And so I killed him with kindness instead of going up and smacking him in the face like he really needed. He needed an attitude adjustment. So I got into a discussion with this doctor, and I said, doctor, let me ask you a question. You're a scientist. I'm a scientist. At the end of the day, you make your decisions based off of what? Based off of research, literature, and all those things, right? Scientific method. Absolutely. And I said, doctor, so if I could show you 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 or more research studies that shows that chiropractic, not only is it amazing for neuromusculoskeletal pain, not only is it cost effective, literally costing a fraction of what most healthcare costs on the planet, and it was effective, what would you do? He goes, I'd recommend all the time. And I said, well, I'd love to show you some. He goes, there's no way you could show me one study. And I totally set this cat up because I knew it was coming, and I always have my material with me. Not only do I have it stored in my melon because I live it, breathe it, and research it all the time, but I also actually happen to have a copy of it with me. And some of the stuff that I've got, like one of these papers that I'm going to cite here, because I'm going to read you my stuff in just a minute, comes from some of my dear friends, Dr. Krista Burns and Dr. Mark Wade. These are the folks that started and own the American Postural Institute. Geniuses. Not only are they chiropractors, but they're PhDs, so they're very well educated in the scientific method. And so I said, doctor, if I could show you some research articles, what would you say then that were in peer review medical journals? He said, well, then obviously I would have to make some recommendations. And I said, all right, sit down, shut up, and now listen. So I want to show you some of the stuff that I shared with him. Now I'm going to read some of these because there's a lot of them here, but I'm going to give you some meat and potatoes of why you and your family should be getting chiropractic care now and forever, not just for neck and back pain, because that's only this much of what chiropractic is good for. Neck and back pain is great. We deal with that stuff all the time, but it's the other amazing things that getting your spine adjusted on a regular basis, getting your brain and nervous system functioning better is what it's about. So let's talk about a couple studies that I showed this doctor. And I said, doctor, let me just show you this. In 2004, there was a study that was done in the Journal of Neuroscience. Have you heard of this science journal? Oh, he's a neurologist. Of course he has. I said weak posture decreases gray matter in the brain. So it actually showed when your posture's out of alignment, if you're sitting down in a chair, like I'm sitting all stooped over right now, how that's bad for your gray matter in your brain. So how good posture affects your physiology. Well, we know that chiropractic care and good core exercise can help your body stand up straight, stand erect. And the majority of us live in a world where we're stuck in flexion like this. Look at people who have Parkinson's, dementia, Alzheimer's. They're not upright. They don't have great posture. Their heads are all forward like this and they're hunched. We know that posture and structure precedes function. So I showed him this article, and that one by itself shut him up. Again, I talked about this one. Another journal, 2007, it was talking about how forward head posture decreased heart and lung capacity. Another one showed how forward head posture in the Journal, again, of Neuroscience in 2007, how that caused a negative influence on blood pressure and heart rate. How many people are taking high blood pressure medication? I was just talking about on the radio show the other day, the American Medical Association was excited that they announced that they're going to start getting more aggressive in treating blood pressure by giving you more drugs. That's not fixing the damn problem. Are you freaking kidding me? And this study right here shows that if you simply get your body into alignment, and what else can do that better than chiropractic? And the answer is nothing. Chiropractic mixed with the good physiotherapy exercises for posture and balance, you'll get that posture back and you'll reduce your blood pressure. Sitting is the new smoking. Many of you have heard us talk about this. A study done in 2005 and then again in 2011 showed that people who are sitting for a prolonged period of time are not moving their joints. You see, there was a famous neuroscientist that said movement is the fuel for the brain, just like, protein is the fuel for muscles. You need movement for your brain. And so we are sitting sitting too much. And guess what gets the body moving? Not just exercise. When you get a chiropractic adjustment, your body starts to move and starts to change. Another one, 2006, European Journal of Pediatrics, improved posture opens airways and decreases effects of asthma. So there's peer-reviewed research journal articles that shows the effectiveness of regular, consistent chiropractic adjustments and how they actually help the treatment of asthma. And the results of these studies are amazing. Another one, Journal of Electromyography and Kinesiology in 2011, pain changes the neuromotor pathways of degenerative posture. So it talks about how posture negatively affects pain. So you can go take all the pain pills, Oxycontin, and all the shots and all the cortisone, all that stuff in the world. It's not going to fix your freaking problem because your posture's jacked up. And the only thing that can correct that is good corrective chiropractic care plus postural corrective exercises, period. I mean, the medical journals are showing this. There's no drug for that. It's common sense, people. Talked about how faulty neck alignment can alter bad proprioception. What that means is your body's going to be out of balance. We talked at this workshop with these neuroscientists about how the brain and cerebellum communicate. The cerebellum is what keeps our body, from falling over. And many of you know, as we get older, we have a fear of what? Falling and breaking a bone. Well, the reality of it is that if the neck is a problem, if you have misalignment in the vertebrae in your neck, again, the journals, 2014 show this. Journal of Human Neuroscience. Again, a neuroscience journal shows how the neck misalignment can cause this. What fixes that? Tell me what pill fixes that. There isn't one. It's chiropractic only. By this time, this doctor's just sitting there twiddling his thumbs because he's already defeated. He knows that I already got him. And I'm not trying to be braggadocious. I'm just trying to let him know that he's ignorant to certain things. And the reality of it is that the problem, one of the biggest problems we have in the world today is the ignorance we have. We have a lot of stupid people, but we have a lot of ignorant people. Ignorance means that you just don't know. Stupid means you know and you do it anyway. You know what I mean? So the reality is we showed him this. We talked about how myofascial pain management in August 2005 talked about correct posture decreases fatigue and decreased mental state. So like if you're tired, who's tired all the time? How many people, I see television commercials all the time for people who have chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, all this stuff going on. Here, take this Lyrica pill for it. That doesn't fix it. Again, this talks about how correcting posture and correcting the brain can correct this stuff. Last one, and then I'll move on to some other fun stuff. 2002, the Journal of Spine, the Spine Journal, show this: bad posture causes low back pain. Low back pain is the number 2 cause of missed work. Number 1 cause is the flu and the cold. Number 2 is low back pain. So we have a pandemic going on with people who have low back problems, and it talked about how when the posture's off, everything's off. And again, what fixes the posture? The chiropractic adjustment. Once we explained this to these doctors, they were just blown away because we asked them, well, what do you do for back pain? They said, well, we give them a drug, if a painkiller and a muscle relaxer. If that doesn't work, which it doesn't, it never works. And I asked them, how often does that work? And they say, it doesn't, just across the board. I said, why the hell do you recommend it? Because they don't know what else to do. Then they recommend physical therapy. How effective is that? It's effective because it helps with core and postural strengthening muscles. That's why we do physical therapy in our offices with core stability and posture exercises, but they don't get the joints back in alignment. And that's what these journal articles say. And there's nothing more effective. There's no one that's more trained on doing that than doctors of chiropractic. Literally, we spend 5 years training on this stuff. No one knows the spine like a doctor of chiropractic does. So I showed that to these doctors, and they were blown away. And then I said, but wait, there's more. I said, Journal of Gerontology. So it talked about, this is when people get older, a geriatric journal. It talked about increased kyphosis causes early mortality. So you know what kyphosis is? You ever see people that, when they're young, they're sitting up nice and straight, but when they get older, they start to hunch over like this. Their back gets hunched like Quasimodo. That's called kyphosis. And so we're supposed to have this normal kyphotic curve in our back, but if we have too much rounded shoulders, that can cause us to have an increase in mortality. So that means we die faster. Who wants that? Not me. But most people don't know that. Most people, when I say sit up straight, so do this, sit up straight right now. Take a deep breath in and blow out. Now hunch over, deep breath in, blowout. It's harder, isn't it? So think about living your life that way. What does that do to your cardiovascular system? It stresses it out to the 90th power. You can't breathe. You don't get lung capacity. You don't get oxygen to your brain. Your mitochondria doesn't produce. So you don't have no energy. And it cuts off your heart. You're going to have increased hormones for stress, which is cholesterol, which that's a whole different podcast that I'll do, dispelling the myths of cholesterol. But we showed how if you have increased kyphosis, that can actually cause an increase by 30%. Knocks 30% of your life off. That's crazy. Obviously, the research is there. And there's research not only there for adults, but here's some stuff about kids, because we get asked all the time, why are there so many children in your offices? Why do we see 300 to 400 plus kids a day in our clinics? Because these little kids need it more than anybody. Listen, we live in a world where we are under more stress than we've ever been. But now we've got things like ADD, ADHD, autism. We've got things like asthma. We've got things like, kids that have epilepsy and seizures and allergies and all this stuff going on. And the chiropractic adjustments can help with that. And the science has proven it. In fact, the science says that we're more effective in correcting those visceral problems like asthma, like emphysema, like epilepsy, like that, than we are with neck and back pain. And everybody knows that chiropractors are amazing with neck and back pain. So I gave them a couple studies. The Journal of Autism and Developmental Disorders showed how autism behaviors improve with ergonomic exercise and chiropractic treatment. The Journal of Back and Musculoskeletal Rehab shows how heavy backpacks in children can increase neck pain and back pain, and how that can lead to attention issues because their posture's off. Because when your structure's off, it messes up with the governor, and that's your brain, especially the frontal lobe. Talked about back pain in kids influences school performance. So these kids that are not doing good in school, they can't focus, they can't concentrate. It's because they're in pain. But see, kids don't manifest pain like we do. When we have pain, many of you listening to this video have had pain before, and it's knocked you out of work. You haven't been able to do anything. You get laid up for a day, 2, 3 days. You can't focus and concentrate and think. And think about these children who have these misalignments in their spine that are affecting their brain. And so they're giving these kids ADD, Adderall meds, all this kind of stuff. But it's not fixing the problem. The problem is not the lack of medication. The problem is the misalignment, misfiring the brain. That's why we get amazing results by getting children realigned. And I like working with kids. I love working with people of all age, but I love working with children because, number one, they get it. They're not jaded. They haven't been misinformed and confused as much as most adults have. And most adults see the world as people are just out to get them and not trying to get them better. And kids, they don't have that in them yet. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. I've got about 20 other research articles that talks about how posture affects pain, how it affects the brain, how ergonomics, all that stuff. But I want to talk a couple more things that I showed. I printed all this off and sent it to the doctors, and they asked me if I'd come back and talk to them some more. So I don't know what they're going to do with it. But I can only imagine these doctors who've been dealing with helping people for so many years. They've been doing it for 10, 15, 20 years, and all they've known is chiropractic is good for neck and back pain. And they don't even think it's good for that because they've been told by the establishment that chiropractic is bad. And that all goes back to the Wilkes trial that we won back in the 70s, where we found that the American Medical Association was trying to systemically stamp out chiropractic because we weren't pushing drugs and surgery. That's not what we do. We're a natural approach, which is what people want. We live in a world now where people are going, I don't have a drug deficiency. In fact, I don't want to be hooked on that dope, but I don't want to have these problems. So they're left with an option of, well, I either take the drugs or I don't know what else to do. That's why we need more doctors and more people like you that know this information now to share it with the world. So check this out. There was a study, it's called the Agora study, that was done in 2011, and it talked about how chiropractic adjustments help balance out the brain. There's two parts of the brain that we talk about. We talk about something called the sympathetic, which is the gas pedal. The gas pedal is the go, go, go part of the body. Most people are stuck on go. Most ADD, ADHD, even depressed kids, even reflex kids, seizures, epilepsy, asthma, all these things, they're sympathetic dominant. Their gas pedal stuck on go. The other part of the brain is called the parasympathetic. That's the part that allows you to rest, relax, digest, grow, develop, and it's your immune system. So when the gas pedal goes high, the brake pedal is down low, and you're stuck on go, and you can't do the things that you need to do. So there are certain treatments that we do from a chiropractic standpoint that help balance that out, that help us go from that sympathetic overload to that parasympathetic balance. And that's why we help with those conditions like ADD, ADHD, asthma, all that stuff. But here's the kicker. It takes time because the brain needs a chance to reprogram. And so we showed that. We also showed them more about kid stuff because they asked, why do you see so many kids? Why do you see so many babies? And I said, babies? I said, we need to have a chiropractor that knows what they're doing in every delivery room across the country, across the world. And he goes, why? I said, well, did you know in the Journal of Manual Medicine, this is a journal, this was done in 1992. So this has been we're going back 30 years almost. Okay, so we've known that what they did was they took 1,000 kids and they looked at these 1,000 babies after they were delivered, and 999 out of 1,000 had some type of misalignment, subluxation, or abnormal nerve mechanics in the upper part of the neck. Because the delivery, these kids get pulled out of the vaginal canal with forceps or suction, or a C-section is even worse. I mean, they literally cut a hole this big inside of a woman, lower abdominal area to the uterus, and they pull this baby out by the head. They literally rotate, flex, pull, rotate, flex, pull. They pull this baby out by their head. Of course these children have neck traumas. That's where so many people start the problem with is at birth. But again, no pediatricians are checking this unless it's a chiropractic pediatrician that knows to look for this stuff. Most chiropractors know how to look for this. But what I'm saying is that you're missing so many of the cause of your problems because of this. And the research supports it. It talked about the Journal of Spine in 1997 talked about this. The Journal of Clinical Neurophysiology in 2007 talked about the same thing. Autonomic Neuroscience in 2001. The Journal of American Osteopathic in 1979 knew this. And the Journal of Alternative Therapies in 2011 talked about this. So there are tons of journal articles about it. So doctors can no longer say, man, I wish there was some research. Guess what, Jack? There's a bunch of it. How about you do your research and find out what's better so you can serve your people? That's what really ticks me off, is that these doctors think there's only one way to do it, and it's their way. Well, guess what? Your way sucks. Your way is the number one cause of all sickness and disease on the planet. Now, I'm not saying that medicine doesn't have a place. It does. It absolutely does. If I get hit by a truck on my way to work, please don't take me to the chiropractor if my arm's cut off. Take me to the hospital, put me back together, but then afterwards, take me to somebody that knows how to put me back together from top to bottom, from inside to out, without drugs, without surgery. What I'm saying is, and you can look this up, Gary Null's research, Death by Medicine, said, people, I ask them all the time, what's the number one cause of death? And they typically say, oh, it's heart disease. Well, they're wrong. Some 600,000 people a year die from heart disease. That's absolutely correct. Number 2 is cancer. Okay, so it's really number 3. Number 2 is heart disease. Number 3 is cancer. Some 500,000 a year die from that, which is ever growing. But the number one cause of death on the planet, some 990,000 people a year die from what's called iatrogenic death. Death from properly prescribed medication, death from side effects of surgery, death from surgery, death from medicine, death from over-the-counter drugs. That's the number one cause. Gary Null and his research, Death by Medicine, uncovered that. And these are several medical doctors and PhDs that put this out there. So you need to do your research, do your due diligence, find out your truth so that you can make an informed decision, because the research is out there, man. I mean, look at all this stuff. Look at all these people, especially now. We're seeing the flu and cold season coming up. It's September. Everybody's freaking out. But the reality is that stuff is not going to save you from the flu. It's not going to prevent it. The next talk I'm going to do is going to be on the flu shot, and I'll send it out so everybody can have the research and they can see it so they can make informed decisions. But, I mean, look at this stuff. 2003, the book called Autonomic Failure talked about how if you get regular chiropractic adjustments, it actually increases your immune system. Some research says by 139% to up to 400% improvement of your immune function by getting adjusted regularly. That's powerful, man. Journal of Ergonomic Medicine and Spine in 2006 and 2005 both said that slight misalignment in the neck and low back causes dysregulation of the neuroimmune system. I mean, all the research is there, you guys. Anti-aging, chronic pain, it's all there. So you can't argue with the fact that the truth will set you free, but most people don't want to hear the truth because then they got to take action on it. So listen, I hope you enjoyed this. There's going to be a lot more coming. Take this video, watch it over again, share it with your friends and family and loved ones. Respond back. I want to know your comments, your questions. Tune into the radio show that we do every Sunday on 3 p.m. on 97.1 FM News Talk in Central Time, St. Louis, Missouri. You don't want to miss this stuff. It's Wellness Matters. We're here to talk about the most relevant truth because the truth will set you free, and we're here advocating for you. We want you to be able to make an informed decision. So love and appreciate y'all. Hope you have a great rest of the day. I'll talk to y'all soon.